welcome back to another episode of Presley Mania. I hope you all have had a wonderful Christmas and that you got to spend some time with family and friends and have just enjoyed the time of remembering our Savior's birth, because that's what Christmas is all about, is the birth of Jesus. And I wanted today to talk a little bit about Lisa Marie's book some more. I had mentioned last week that I felt like that her book has gotten lost in the shuffle of things that are going on between the lawsuit with Bridget and Priscilla. There has been a lot of talk about all around the internet and Facebook groups and YouTube and that kind of thing, of some different things that were going on in Elvis's life, past loves, that kind of thing. And I think the focus has just kind of gotten off of Lisa Marie. And I decided that I wanted to spend a little bit more time talking about her book. And I read a little bit more in it last night. I like to pick it up and occasionally just thumb through it and read some things here or there, because it just refreshes my memory and it makes me think about her in a different way and really dwell on the fact that she had a lot going on in her life, and especially the last few years were very difficult for her. But I thought, since this is the holiday season, that we would talk about Lisa's last Christmas and New Year's, and thought we would begin a few months before that and just kind of go over what happened in her life those last few months that she was here with us. And if you have already read this book, which I know many of you have, some of this may seem a little repetitive to you, or maybe it'll just seem like a nice little reminder so we can look back and think about our Lisa Marie. Okay, so I guess in October of let's go back a little before then. Okay, in 2022, Lisa Marie got a bad infection, and she later had to have her uterus removed, and it was incredibly hard for her. And she said, "It held all my babies." Well, if we know anything about Lisa, we know how much she loved her children. And remember, she had lost Ben Ben. And so it's a hard thing for a woman to go through something like that. But it was really difficult for Lisa, because that's where she carried her babies and then brought them into this world. And Riley goes on to say, one day in October of that year, they all went to Disneyland. And as we were about to get on a ride, she sat down on some stairs and said she didn't feel well, that she was really nauseated. So Riley said again that she was telling her mom, "You need to go to the doctor, you need to go to the doctor." But apparently Lisa was refusing. This isn't the first time that Lisa had had some issues and Riley had encouraged her to get to a doctor, and Lisa just refused. So we're going to skip forward. After that, we're going to go talk about the last Christmas and New Year's that Riley had with her mom and that they shared together as a family. So the night before Tupelo was born, Riley, her husband Ben, I think isn't it something that her husband is named Ben and her brother was Ben? I think that's really kind of cool and interesting. But anyway, so the night before Tupelo was born, Riley, her husband Ben, Lisa Marie, and Danny, Riley's parents, they all got in a car and they headed out to a Holiday Inn that was located in the Mojave Desert. And it says it was right off the 15 freeway, and they were going to wait for Tupelo's arrival. and the surrogate was to be induced the next morning. So they all had dinner together, and the way I understood the book was that the surrogate had dinner with them as well. And then after dinner, they all headed back to the hotel. So the next morning, Tupelo was born via C-section. And in the rush of it all, Riley said that she had not had time to text or even talk to her mom, and she had no idea where she was. She said, but when we were walking to have a test done on the baby, they bumped into her mom. And listen to this. We've always talked about how intuitive Lisa was, and how that we felt like that maybe she always said that she could hear Ben's voice after he passed. And so they hadn't had a chance to talk to Riley, and Riley had not had a chance to talk to her mom, and they bumped into her when they were taking Tupelo to have a test. And she said that Lisa Marie had been looking for him. And she said she wasn't even allowed in the area where they found her. But in Lisa's typical way, she had snuck in and intuitively found her grandchild. She looked at Tupelo, and the first thing she said was, Ben brought me to you. So she felt like that Ben had directed her to the right wing of the hospital and where she was. And when they got home from the hospital, she said that her mom and dad would help them with shifts. And so from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., they would watch over little Tupelo so Ben and Riley could get some rest. I just think that's so precious, and it shows how close of a family they were, Ben and Riley and Ben, and that they were all close to Lisa Marie and Danny. And Riley goes on to say that there were a few brief months that they were filled with joy and their new little blessing, and that she said Lisa Marie called Tupelo our little light. And she would look in her eyes and say, bless her sweet little feisty heart. She's like a fairy tale creature, a little fawn. Well, it wasn't long till that name kind of changed, and they started calling her Little Sonny. And remember how Elvis had pet names, and he called, he would have different names for things, and they would talk, like he and his mom would have things they would say back and forth to each other. Well, that obviously was passed down to Lisa Marie, because they began to call little Tupelo Sonny. So, okay, the baby's been born, and now it's Thanksgiving time. And Riley goes on to tell us in this story that when her sisters and her mom, they all got together for Thanksgiving, and then after, they all went for a walk outside her mom's house in Calabasas. And she said Lisa Marie wouldn't let anybody else hold that baby. And I can kind of see that. I know me as a proud grandma, I'd be like, give me that baby. Give me that baby. I would want to hold her or hold him and bond with my grandchild. And Lisa Marie was the same way. She loved children, and Riley has said on many, many occasions what a good, loving, nurturing mother she was. She said, so anyway, on this walk, they started talking about what they wanted to do for Christmas. And so they said, they threw out some ideas, or Riley and the girls did. They said Tahoe, Utah, Hawaii. And when they said Hawaii, Lisa Marie said, yuck, a hot Christmas is my worst nightmare. Riley said every year Lisa Marie wanted snow for Christmas. And it made me think back to when she was a little girl, and she told her daddy that she had never seen snow before. And Elvis called and got the Lisa Marie fired up. And what did he do? He put her on that plane and he flew her to snow so she could go play in it for a little while. And I wonder if she happened to remember that too when she was thinking about her vacation and their Christmas and wanting to spend it in snow. Well, Riley says that at the time she was working in Canada, and so Riley suggests that they all go to Whistler in British Columbia. And Lisa Marie loved the idea. She was excited, and Riley said for the next month she would send her photos of hotels and all the things there were to do there, and she was anxious and she wanted to go. And so Riley went ahead and she booked everything for Lisa Marie. Flights, hotels, things to do. She said the bill was astronomical. But she said, Lisa just looked at her and said, so what? That's what she wanted to do. And she said, you never know when it's your last Christmas together. And that just breaks my heart because it was her last Christmas with them. Well, there were some complications with the trip. As it approached and all that was left was for Lisa Marie to get her passport renewed. Well, as luck would have it, despite their best efforts, the passport didn't arrive in time. So all of Lisa Marie's anticipation and excitement about that trip got dashed, and they were not able to go. And Riley, I'm going to read to you what she says. As silly as it may seem, not getting to Whistler represented so much to my mother. She was desperate for a magical escape, and Whistler had come to represent an ideal, a dreamland. When it fell through, I swear, something changed. She seemed resigned to something, as though she wasn't going to find the joy she once felt here anymore. It was just so sad to me. So then I guess what ended up happening was after Christmas, they ended up taking a trip to a place that they went to every New Year's Eve. And I am not sure I'm pronouncing this right. It's Santa, and I'm guessing it's Inez or Juanez. Let me spell it. It's Y-N-E-Z. So some of you, if you know how to pronounce that, you can put it down in the comments below and tell me. I should have looked it up before I came on. But anyway, they went there to ring in the new year. And Riley says that it was more depressing than exciting. And I guess because they didn't get to go to Whistler, maybe it's a place that they had always gone and Ben had usually always been with them. But Riley said at least they were together. And she said that Lisa Marie and her sisters took horse rides through the beautiful valley. And Riley talks about how Lisa Marie was very intuitive with horses and that she could pick up on things with a horse, and she would communicate with the horse, and she'd fill it out, and she'd learn its rhythm, and she would get where I guess the horse felt comfortable with her. And she said that she was so in tune with horses, even if the horse was scrumpy, she'd find a way to build a relationship with it. It was so moving to watch her intuit a horse's personality. I think that is so cool. She had a way about her, and the horse could sense it, and Lisa could sense things about the horse, and they would end up bonding. And then one of the funniest things that I thought happened, this story is hilarious, so I'm going to read this one to you as well. On New Year's Eve, we found ourselves in a honky-tonk bar. You can't tell? I'm from Texas. I should be able to say honky-tonk. Where a band was doing covers. At one point, they did a country version of Suspicious Minds. And afterward, my mom went up to congratulate them. The lead singer was a bit full of himself. He probably liked to look at himself in the back of spoons, and he barely gave my mom the time of day, which she thought was hilarious. Can you imagine? Some guy in this bar is singing, probably a no-name nothing, and he is doing a cover of Suspicious Minds, and Elvis's daughter gets up, and he doesn't know who she is. And he's just like full of himself and didn't even hardly acknowledge her. Oh my gosh. I bet later if he figured out who she was, he felt like about this high, or like, dang, I was stupid. So Riley says that after they finished watching the band that they all went to their room, and she said, her sisters went to the room, and she said, and me and Mom snuck off to a spot next to the non-smoking hotel restaurant, and giggling like teenagers, hiding from their parents, they lit up a cigarette. And Riley says that although she had quit smoking years before, that she wanted to have this cigarette with her mom. Maybe Riley was a little intuitive too. Maybe she is. Maybe she had a sense that things weren't right with her mom. I'm sure she saw it, knowing her mom wasn't feeling well, and that she had lost Ben, and the ups and the downs and all of that. And Riley said that eventually that her dad, Danny, came out, and he also lit a cigarette too. And she said the three of them stood there under the roof, keeping out of the light rain, smoking. And she said, and as we smoked, my mother said, oh, that baby, I can't handle her. She fills me up and knocks me dead. I know, sweet Sonny. I told you they changed the name. My dad said, my mom's word, fawn, had become son, and son had become Sonny in our silly shared language. There in that moment, I found myself feeling so grateful that I still had both my parents. I didn't take it for granted. Riley says that was the last time that she really hung out with her mom until they had dinner in LA on January 8th, which was Elvis's birthday. And that's how Lisa Marie spent her last Christmas and her last New Year's on this earth. I wanted to share that with you guys. I'm probably going to do some more little excerpts from her book, because I think that it's important that we remember who Lisa Marie was, and that we realize that she was a human just like all of us, and she had her ups and she had her downs, and I just think that it's important to remember her life as well as her daddy's. I got really emotional and sad. A friend had sent me a picture of Graceland on Christmas Day, and it just seemed so sad and lonely to me to just see. I could see Lisa's grave and Ben's grave, and I could see the meditation garden, and I was just sad, and it got me thinking about her and her last Christmas that she spent here and the time she spent with her girls. And I just wanted to share that with all of you. So I wish all of you a very happy new year. I still have family in town. We have not finished our Christmas celebrations yet. So I have one tomorrow and one the next day. It has been a whirlwind of activity around my house. So I have not gotten out a whole lot of videos this month, but I wanted to get one more out in December, and then of course I will do another one next week for all of you. So until next time, remember, you only get one shot at this life, so live each day to the fullest, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. See you all next time around. Bye. Happy New Year.
Thank you.